Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Excited to have our guest today, Chris Zvirbulis. We'll be diving into his story, his company that he works for, DataGuard, what they specialize in, and some engaging insights into the cybersecurity industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Chris. If you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little quick snippet of your story and your background prior to working at DataGuard.
Yeah, for sure, Alessandro. Thanks. I'm Chris Zvirbulis. Nice to meet you all. Got a long career in technology sales and have built up different organizations throughout my years, and eventually evolved into IT services, cloud-based IT services, and then eventually turned into cybersecurity specific services. Found that I really enjoy serving the mid-market, the SMB space that is underserved. There's a lot of different options out there. So we've really created a flexible program just to help regular businesses, help them protect themselves. So it's been fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I am curious, Chris, because we've obviously been working together for a little bit, but I never really asked you, what was it about cybersecurity that sparked your interest, and why did you decide to kind of, get inside the industry?
It's funny you say that because I had a slew of personal breaches that were out of my control. There was my wife's Target card was breached, which caused all our credit cards to have to be changed. We had our mortgage company had a data breach. Our local health clinic, which a couple of thousand employees, but they had a major breach. And then last but not least, I think my kid's school ring or uniform cap and gown company, Herf Jones, put up my credit card for that, and that got breached. And it really got me thinking of like, wow, all these good companies, big name companies are having problems. I wonder what's going on with the companies with a couple hundred employees or 500 employees. And it really started to get my wheels turning. And I realized there was a huge market and a need. Little end to that story is I got my last one, which was my Capital One card that was breached in 2019. I got a settlement for $636 last week. And that blew my mind because the biggest up to that point was $80. And the fact that, these companies had to pay all that money out, I always respond and I'm like, oh, okay, class action lawsuit, you annoyed me. I had to change my credit card, fine. I fill it out on my phone. But to get that amount of money back, it was like $190 million settlement. And I still think these companies, they just write that off. Like to them, okay, fine, cost of doing business. Instead of protecting our data and doing the right thing, they probably are cutting corners in a lot of cases. So my goal is to really help people secure their environments, protect their customers, protect their image, and do it in a way that doesn't break the bank and it's not overwhelming.
Definitely. And I think you touch on some good points. And I'm curious, as now that you've been inside the industry for a little bit and you've kind of, had this experience of working with a couple of different companies, what would you say are some trends that you're starting to see right now, or where are the winds maybe blowing that you're maybe noticing right now in the market?
Well, I wish I could tell you it was something fancy and technical. That wouldn't make me very fun to talk to at a cocktail party because nobody wants to hear all that jargon. Certainly my wife doesn't. But the biggest trend, which we can all understand and grasp, is human error. This is a fact that 95% of breaches trace back to employee error or someone being compromised. Someone made a mistake the old-fashioned way, right? 2 years ago was 80%. Last year was 90%. So the trend has been going upwards of that good old-fashioned human side of things. Social engineering is causing the actual breaches. The most recent one, and I happened to be in Vegas 3 or 4 weeks ago when the MGM thing went down. It was surreal to see them going back to keys for their properties. 12 of their properties were affected. I was eating dinner at the Aria or the Cosmo, and their reservation system wasn't working. Everything had gotten shut down. And they were losing $12 million a day in their operation because of it. The breach occurred because the threat actor went on LinkedIn, connected with a senior level IT person or somebody high enough to have privileges. Then they called help desk pretending to be that person, posing as that person. They had enough social proof, they had enough credibility. And what probably happened is they bullied or sweet talked a $12 to $15 an hour help desk person into resetting passwords. And at that point, the threat actor had privileges, game over, checkmate, and none of the defenses could stop that. You now had access at the highest privilege level, and you could do whatever you wanted. So that was really that's a good example of no matter how much money you throw at cybersecurity, if you do not harden your end users and teach them and train them, you're always going to be at risk.
Yeah, and I think you're the one who really always hammered this point home with me when you told me it's all about building that human
Yep.
firewall. And it makes sense because, it's something that you have to always put in. That is the first line of defense against these cyber attacks. And if that is not, equipped with the right knowledge of and the right training, and your employees are putting you at the biggest risk. And so I think that that's, like you said, the biggest vulnerability that you have to have in place before anything.
Yep.
Now I want to segue into your the company that you work for. I know you work for two. We'll talk about just DataGuard in this instance. But what is the primary service offering of DataGuard?
Well, a primary offering is end user training, fake phishing exercises that are keeping up with the trends. No longers that are red flag. If somebody has bad grammar or sentence structure, because every fake phishing email now has perfect grammar and perfect sentence structure. They're using Grammarly and other AI-driven tools, and they're doing it at speed, right? So part of it is just doing those exercises and trying to, help people learn to stay in front of it. But I'd say our core offering is we own and operate a 24/7 security operations center called a SOC. And we do something called MDR, which is managing the endpoints in the environment for alerts. And if there's something going on, we respond to it in the middle of the night, on the weekend, which is when most threat actors will make their move when there's the least amount of defenses. So Washington crossed the Delaware, on a holiday in the middle of the night for a reason, because the defenses were down. And that's the same thing the threat actors do. So we're trained to respond average under 4 minutes, to have a professional CISO addressing an alert. A lot of times they're false alerts, but once in a while they're real, and you need the right people on it. So that's our core offering. Adding that level of incident response and professionalism to watching really good cybersecurity tools. And our thought is that you can go buy good tools, but if you don't have professionals watching them 24/7, you're really putting yourself at risk.
Definitely. Now, what would you say is the area that you think clients get the most value from working with DataGuard?
The most value comes from our virtual CISO relationship. We call it a VCISO. A CISO is a high-level cybersecurity trained professional. In a enterprise company, these individuals will make between $250,000 to $500,000 a year, right? Most of my constituents, my clients, they're not at that range. Do they have the budget to absorb that person? Most of my clients are between 50 and 1,000 employees. So it really doesn't make sense to carry that type of person on the payroll. But the real value is having somebody like that on a fractional basis that is included with our program to help you plan, to help them prepare for board meetings, annual reviews, quarterly board meetings, whatever's going on, or respond to threats in their industry or compliances that are being pushed down. Every year there's something new. This year was the FTC smart regulations that forced accountants, attorneys, mortgage brokers, car dealers, people that were kind of under the radar but accepting personal information. This was the year where they had to comply, and there was a lot to make them comply, right? So a VCISO would help that through that process, make sure that's done effectively. The other thing that's getting a little bit uh, challenging is cyber insurance renewals. So those have gone from like 3 questions to sometimes 13, 15 pages. It's overwhelming for most people. And I personally find that they're being answered incorrectly, maybe not on purpose, but there's a lot of inconsistencies. And what's going to happen, because these insurance companies are sick of paying out losses, when there is a incident, they go back and audit your last renewal. If they find a discrepancy, they're in the right to deny that claim. And it's the same thing if I said I was never an occasional smoker, which I smoke cigars on the weekends sometimes, and I passed away, God forbid, I would not want my wife being denied my life insurance, right? So you have to be careful when you do those renewals, and a lot of times the CEO is signing off on it, but a lot of the questions are technical by nature. So a VCISO or a CISO would help somebody through that process and make sure it's done appropriately to minimize risk.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Maybe tailoring off of that, I am curious as to some success stories. If you have an example of one that maybe you could share of a client that you worked with, you obviously don't have to drop any names, but maybe talking a little bit about where they were before and how you kind of came in, worked with them, and helped them have that transformation.
Yeah, I definitely can't say names, but I can tell you there's been a number of clients that in confidence have told me, quite frankly, and these are executive level contacts, that we know we're not answering these renewal applications correctly. We're just kind of flying blind, and we're doing what we did yesterday, and we're pushing through, and we know we're putting ourselves at risk, right? So that's a big scary proposition, and my role is to make it easy to answer them correctly, to do it in a way that is not overwhelming. I think the other biggest thing that I guess you could say is a success story with clients is when you can take something as complex and maybe daunting as cybersecurity and break it down to a simple layer of things that's not overwhelming. In a lot of cases, I found that I could look at what people are spending on specific cybersecurity tools or traditional antivirus and this and that, and find that, like, wait, you're spending in the wrong areas, right? So maybe consolidating that to a core program is better use of your money and certainly more effective at increasing the security posture. So that's always a win too. There's been a number of times we've seen that specifically in the non-for-profit space, because I have special unique programs in that realm. I've always held non-for-profit organizations near and dear to my heart. I'm on a board of directors for a local Chicago-based qualified residential treatment center for at-risk youth, and I've seen, from the inside, some of the challenges of making the money go as far as you can, right? The budget constraints. And even if you're with a non-for-profit that's flush with cash, you're always trying to put it towards the cause and the service and not spend it on operations. So we've had a lot of success stories where we've actually reduced cost to provide better cybersecurity in the non-for-profit space specifically.
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about that before, is because of the fact that there's so many solutions that you can get as a company. There's so many different things that you can buy, and I feel like it's sometimes these IT leaders are just overwhelmed with all of these different things that are coming at them, right? And it takes an experienced professional like DataGuard and a company like that to be kind of able to kind of come in and say, like, listen, you don't need all this, you don't need all this. This is a good stack for you. This is a good solution, and it kind of takes the pressure off of those leaders to have to find every single tool that is going to be of their needs. And so I think that that's a great point. Now, I kind of wanted to just now take a chance to just ask you some questions about your job position. And I know that you are the chief commercial officer at DataGuard, and I wanted to ask maybe some of the biggest challenges you experience on a day-to-day basis, and some advice to maybe overcome those to other people who may be experiencing similar ones.
Well, I think you need good partners, right? So I've been fortunate to connect with some really good partners and organizations. You're one of them. That has really helped in a lot of ways. And the challenge is some of the companies in my space just have multi-million dollar budgets, right? So sometimes you get drowned out by the sea of other options, but that's okay because that's how we're able to provide value. That we don't spend our money on huge marketing budgets and billboards and sports teams and whatever else people do. We really try and give the best level service. We spend it on our employees, creating the best environment for our people at the highest level to serve our clients, the strongest processes and best practices. And at the end, we want to be efficient in how we deliver those. So, but I would say some of the challenges, just like dealing with all the different things in marketing. We refreshed the website. We invested in an internal employee to just do SEO and help our search rankings. We've utilized outreach clients. We're looking at different ways to grow our business without hiring a bunch of salespeople, right? What we found is that the buyers don't really want to be sold to the way sales worked 10 or even 20 years ago because they want to be educated. They want good information. They want trusted advisors, and they want to take about 70% of that buying journey on their own before they talk to a sales professional. So we've had to re-engineer the business to facilitate that, to educate our clients, give them information. We've written a lot of guides on cybersecurity. We do a lot of webinars. We provide a lot of free information. And then at the end, when the client's ready, then they can ask us to, engage. And sometimes that's an assessment process, a vulnerability scan. We have a lot of programs that we can help clients along without asking them to spend money up front. And ultimately, that's how we earn our clients' trust in their business.
Definitely. And I'm curious to ask you, as obviously as a chief commercial officer now, if you could give advice to anyone that's maybe, coming up in their journey and, trying to maybe get a sales executive position or trying to climb the corporate ladder, what would be the best advice that you could give to them?
I would say don't climb the corporate ladder, start your own business. But if you had to do that, find a good company, find a good mentor. I think I was fortunate, and I was in corporate America for many years. I had some very good mentors. I had two or three really awesome mentors that I learned a lot from, and a couple. I had another mentor or two that weren't such great people, but I learned what not to do. So I call them mentors because I learned some of the things that I didn't agree with and that I didn't want to incorporate into my own style or business down the road. So take the jobs based on the knowledge you're going to learn and the people around you. Money will come down the road. You do the right things, you take care of people long enough, you'll have all the money you need, all the money you want. So don't chase the money, chase the knowledge, chase the environment.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think that getting mentorship is a big thing, right? And being able to learn from people who have done it before, right? And people who are obviously experiencing things at a high level and able to share that knowledge with you, because it helps you be able to kind of skip off on their mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to make those mistakes that they made, and they're going to tell you like, hey, like I did this and I did this and this didn't work out and this is what you should do. And you have almost like a shortcut instead of having to go through the same process that they went through and having to experience all those things as well. So I think that's a great point. Piggybacking off what you said, that mentoring is something that is crucial to people who want to cut that time in half when it comes to learning a topic or learning something. I mean, I can't even, I think even being around someone like you and you being able to tell me more about cybersecurity and teach me has helped me a lot in just understanding the industry better. So I think that people have to be open-minded and kind of just being able to absorb that knowledge wherever it may come from.
Right, for sure.
And I did have some one or two more questions just around the most important things that you've learned throughout your career, and if you wanted to just share those with the audience as well.
I think the most important thing I learned in my career is that you always have to have a long-term mindset, meaning sometimes you're not going to get what you want right away, but it will come back to you. You want to help people out along the road. You want to help clients out. You want to help coworkers out. You want to help anybody you can in business, eventually whether it's karma, through some other direction, or those people will come and help you down the road. I think that's critical in building your career. Um, I'm a very flexible, open-minded person, so I'm always looking at doing new ways of doing things. I know that's not conventional, and that's part of the reason why I really wasn't happy in corporate America, because there's only so many boxes and structure that I can work within, right? I like having that freedom. I like the role I'm in with the chief commercial officer, where I can create programs and really listen to the market and listen to my prospects and my clients and create programs specifically to meet their needs. And I think that comes down to, I've learned more from, or as much from, my clients and my prospects and sometimes my vendors. I've learned more than, traditional teaching. So I think just having an open mind about where you're getting your knowledge from, and get it from the best places. And if you don't think somebody's a good source of information, do not listen to anything they have to say and get away from them, because that can be damaging, right? So you want to surround yourself with positive vibes and good people.
Yeah, I forget the exact quote, but there's something very similar to that where it says, if you don't like if you don't like the product, don't listen to the information that comes from it, right?
Right.
And I think that it correlates with people as well, right? If you're obviously looking at someone and see that the success that they've had, and the way that they carry themselves, it's probably someone that you want to be able to work with. And I think you made a great point as to relationships as well in business, because I think that that's something, starting my own business and realizing and having mentors that always told me that people buy from people. It's so true. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes people maybe sugarcoat that, and they don't want to implement that methodology into when they are selling to people, because at the end of the day, we are all people, we're all humans, so there's connections that you obviously feel. And if you're able to build those relationships, that's what's going to help propel businesses forward and make you stay around for the long term. So I think that that's a great point as well.
Yep, I agree.
Great, man. Well, hey, those are all the questions I have for you. I really appreciate you coming on. Chris is a really good friend of mine. We've been working together for the past 4 months now. So his company is great, and I know that being inside it as well, I've seen all the good work that they've done for their clients, and they have many happy customers. So if someone is listening to this and they want to maybe come in contact with you, Chris, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Well, you can reach me at dataguard365.com, or I think I'm going to put this out on LinkedIn, and you'll put this out on LinkedIn. So through that, Chris Zvirbulis is
Mhm.
easily, it's unique. So there's not too many of us out there.
Yeah. We were just talking about how I couldn't pronounce his name. I was trying to make sure I had the pronunciation for it, but we're getting there, step by step, step by step.
I've been Chris Z since I was a little kid, so that's fine. You can call me Chris Z.
Well, great. Oh, yeah, I'll include all your information in the bio as well, so people can check you out. But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on here and having this conversation with me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, Chris.
Yeah, you too. It's been a blast.
All right.
See you later.